Okay, to start a new shelf tab, we just want to go to this little plus icon up here, and we're going to go new shelf tab, and let's call this Rebelway. In my case, you can call it obviously whatever you want to. I'm going to copy and paste the name just because I'm a little bit lazy, and then I'm going to hit accept, and you'll see now we've got this shelf tab that's empty. There's a few ways to add things to it, but to the most part, what we'll be doing is dragging and dropping onto it, which is quite handy. So if I just, for instance, create a geometry, I can drag and drop it up here, and you'll see now I have this shelf tool, and if I click on it, it creates that geometry tool. Essentially the same thing, but that's what it's doing. So another thing you can actually do, which is quite nice, is you can have multiple nodes and you can drag them up here. So if you've got a little setup, and this is where the lines blur with the new recipes tool, we can, for instance, let's just do something simple. I'm going to do a null, a copy, let's say copy points, plug this here like this, and maybe let's just do a torus or something, good old faithful torus, and let's just do another null just to have some more nodes available to us. I can select all these nodes and I can drag them onto the shelf tool, and it's going to come up with a name. You can set an icon, and then it's just going to obviously give me a specific, like a generic name that it's trying to figure out. And we can obviously change this as we want. So we can maybe call this copy, or let's call it my copy just for clarity. I'm going to delete this afterwards, but obviously this is just a demo, and I'm going to hit accept. And now you'll see I've got this my copy set of tools here. If I click on this now, it's going to generate that instantly for me. And this is really just building a Python script with creating all these nodes at once, and quite nice because if you want something with custom, custom parameters, and you copy it into here or drag it onto here, it's going to populate your scene with those parameters. Now, the only thing what I find doing this is, say you've got a setup and I've got, say, my grid coming in with the scattered points, and now I want to create my copy setup, and I click on this, and you can see, well, what's happened? There's nothing happening. Now, it actually just takes the, runs the Python, and there's a part of the Python snippet that would say, put it in the next best place. And what it's actually doing is it's putting it kind of at the center of the scene here. And this is obviously not ideal. So another way we can actually access this shelf tool without even going here is you can actually find it in the tab menu now that you've created it. So if I go type there's my copy, and I can click on it and place it over here. Likewise, if I just click on here and hover over and do the same thing, my copy, it should, well, it doesn't connect, but you can see it places it exactly where you want to. So that's really quite handy. Now I've got my little quick copy of points, and yeah, we can obviously quickly build a scene like that. So the other way to create this system, and like I say, the newer kind of set of tools, we can use the recipe setup for this. And this is actually also quite nice to use. It just depends on, whether you want to populate a shelf or not. We're going to use the shelf tools, and you can actually create a recipe, and you can actually add that recipe in a bit of an awkward way. You can add it to this set of tools as well. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this. Let's keep this. Maybe we'll just change the settings a little bit and make another null just to make sure it's a different kind of setup. Obviously, this doesn't mean anything. It's just for demo purposes. But what you can do is select all these nodes, and then you can right-click on it, and you can go to recipes, and there is save selected items as tool, save items as decoration, or save node preset. These are all obviously different things. I'm not going to go through a lot of them. We just really want to create a tool at the end of the day. But the decoration one is quite interesting. It's almost like if you've got a specific node selected, and then you can, for instance, the copy to points, I could have a set of nodes built around it if I've created this. So if I just drop a copy to points and then I load a decoration, it will populate some nodes around it that I've got kind of preset. It's quite a odd workflow, but interesting to the same point. And then we've got our node presets. So like I say, I've modified this, and we can go to recipes and we can save node preset. By the way, you can also go up here on this menu. There's a little spoon there, and we've got an example, but we can save node preset, and you can see it comes up with this nice little dialog, and it will show you the values that's been changed, and you can give the preset a name. So let's call this my torus. Hit save. And now what I can do is if I drop a new torus, for instance, I can come back to my recipes, and then I can just go to my torus, and you'll see the parameters change to that specific one that I've set up. You can obviously also, if I right click on this and let's say revert to defaults, now I've got my default torus, you can come down here, right click menu, recipes, and you'll see it in this list as well. And I go my torus, and it will automatically set up that value. But the main tool that I wanted to really show you, which is quite nice, is if I select all of these points, and then I can right click and I can go to recipes, and I can save selected item as tool. And this is really quite handy. It comes up with this nice little cute dialog that's got all the nodes in. And let's have a look at some of the options that's available to us here. So just kind of briefly covering some of them. The first thing here, we've got this anchor node, and this is kind of the center node that will be selected or created first. So what we would probably want to do is use the first input as our anchor node. So I can go, obviously I haven't named this very nicely, but we could go to our null6 and use that as my anchor node, and you'll see that one gets highlighted up here. And we're not going to look at too much of this. Is all fairly generic stuff. We've obviously got a title, so I can do this, call this now, I'm going to call this I'm going to underscore it this time, so it's different from the other setup shelf tool we created. My copy setup, let's just make it quite a different name. And then what's quite nice is it creates a tab menu by default, submenu with the recipes. So all your recipes will go into this setup here, and you can change this name and make your own custom one as well. It's got a default icon you can change, so you can change this to anything, your spoon maybe, for example. And then we've got a save path, and this is where, as mentioned before, you can customize this, and you can go, okay, well, I want to save it to my default path, which is generally your home directory, or you can save it to your job OTLs directory. So in this case, that's what I'll do. And this will just, I don't have OTLs, but it will be created for me instead of HDA. HDA and OTLs is pretty much the same thing. Yeah, I think that's it. We've got a name. We've got set to the directory. You can see the working directory that it's going to save to. And obviously my extension here, you can see, is not .hda, it's .nc, because I'm using an educational license. But I'm just going to hit save here, and let's see what happens. So now what I can do is, I hit tab, I can go down to my recipes, and you can see I've got my setup, and if I click on that, you can see there immediately, without dropping anything, I've got this null icon. I'll click on this. You can see now it's dropped the points around there. So this is quite handy. So if I've got my grid example again, and I go here to recipes, my copy, and then immediately I've got that set up connected like that. What's quite interesting though is you can see the name, obviously, because this hasn't got a specific name to it that I have, like this was null6, and because I just left it at null, it's obviously appended the name to something else. It's quite handy. Now the other thing we could possibly do is maybe we wanted to add these recipes to a shelf tool, and that's not entirely the most convenient way to do it. I wish you could, drag them on, but obviously when you create this recipe, it's creating these nodes, and it's not actually giving you access to the HDA or the OTL as such. So what we can do is go to this and right click on this and go edit shelf, and you can go on the second tab where it says tools. Now you can see, since I named my recipe with the underscore, my copy setup, you can see it's right at the top of the list here. Otherwise you would have to, if I just called it my, I would have to manually scroll down to my. That's just a little bit inconvenient. So for this sake, I just put the underscore over here, and I know it's this one over here. I can click and select this, hit accept, and I can see that my copy is now on the shelf tool. So you don't have to necessarily tab to it, and I can just click on this and it will generate that recipe for me over here. So that's just another way we can use recipes and the shelf tool together. I'm going to go ahead and just delete all these. Obviously I don't want to use these, are just tests and we're not going to be using them in the project. Just delete, and delete this out. Let's go up here. All right. So now we've got our clean setup, and I think that brings us to the end of the project setup. Just checking, we've got our shelf tool, we've got our project, our environment variables. So everything looks good to go. Let's get started.